Okay, so today we have Shweta in studios with me, and we're going to be going through an episode called No Excuses, practical strategies for busy professionals and parents who want to get results despite juggling everything. So we've got a couple of different topics. We're going to go 10 minutes on each topic and just spit some raw fire. So let's go into it. The first one is, what are the biggest reasons you hear members fall off? Now, you have quite a unique role where you're a coach at RNT, but you also run a lot of our member success. So you hear everything, right? You hear all the potential reasons why someone might fall off. What are the biggest ones that you have to deal with, coach someone through?
I really do think that when people get stuck in the all or nothing mindset, that is the biggest one, I feel. Like when they sign up, they feel like they have to sort of tick box every single thing. And then when they don't, because life happens, they then hide. That's like classic. I just feel like that's when they're like, oh no, but how am I supposed to do this when kids are sick or travel or parents are unwell or whatever? And then because they're unable to do certain things, they don't want to actually admit that they're not able to do all the tasks that they're supposed to have committed to. And so they prefer hiding because they don't want to actually admit that they're unable to do it. And I just think that that is one of the biggest blockers because they feel that that's one thing that they have to be able to do everything. Otherwise, it's almost like as if they're embarrassed about it. I don't know. Have you come across that, Akash, where people don't want to admit that they're unable to do it?
It's like that mindset of if I'm not going to do everything right, I may as well just do nothing. But especially if your barriers are up or your guard's up or there's a little bit of ego in the way, then it really kicks in because you're like, but my situation means X, Y, Z. But the reality is we've helped people in all the situations. And the best bit of what we've done is because there's so many success stories, there's so many examples of someone who's probably done it with a busier lifestyle or probably done it with a bit more travel than you have or probably done it with, and that's not to belittle anyone's scenario. It's more a case of, you travel once a month. Cool. This person travels every week, right? Yeah. It's like, and still has got, just done a photo shoot or whatever it may be. So one of the reasons why I like sharing lots of success stories with our members is to show people that it's possible, right? To show people that whatever the situation is that you're going through, yes, it's unique to you. And yes, it will feel hard, but it doesn't mean you need to be all in or all out. Now we have a daily check-in, right? And because of the daily check-in, if for whatever reason it's not going your way, you might feel like it's, you don't want to see the reds, especially if you're a high performer. You like seeing greens, you like streaks, and you like everything getting close to 100%. But if you don't see
adherence to be above 90% all the time.
You want the adherence score to be high. But if it's low or not where you want it to be, you think, I should just throw in the towel. Like it's better when my diary's clearer. The reality is your diary is never going to be clearer.
So true.
The calendar's not going to say now you focus on your health and fitness. So, if you're busy now with work's not going to be less busy in a year's time. So I think you've got to get away from like trying to get the greens all week long and think about how can I get 80% green, 90% green, or even just accept that this is not going to be an all or nothing journey. Like life is going to get in the way. I think if you go into the mindset of life will be in the way and I will find a way to make it work with travel, with kids being sick, then I'll move forward. Yep. Travel doesn't mean you just go off your plan. You find a way to do it.
Yeah, and even if you're marking a red on nutrition, marking red on steps, I think that's when the written check-in becomes so essential because it's like, yes, I couldn't follow my exact meal plan, but I did try and find a source of protein. I did make sure I drank my water. I did make sure that, I got, even if I couldn't get 10,000, I got as close as possible. And I think that is the understanding. That's the beauty of why it has to be the daily check-in plus the written check-in combined, because that gives you context. It also makes you feel not like you're losing. In fact, actually, you realize there are wins. There are constantly those little things that you can triumph over, and it doesn't feel like you're always getting pushed back. And it's just that I think is one of the biggest reasons why people.
So what do you say? What do you say when someone says, "Look, I can't be 100%, so I may as well just not do anything"?
Well, that means you're not going to transform, right? That is the harsh truth of it. If you are someone who really just wants to embrace the fact that either I'm on it 100% or not, then you're not going to see the results that you came here for. That's just the way it is. And also life is always going to come in the way. That is, like you said just now, like there's always going to be a sick child, travel, crazy work schedules, like all of the above, all in one little pot. Yeah. And I mean, the thing is though, when you're busy, it's not about working that much harder, right? You have to be tactical about what you can do. There's no point in saying that, you know, I'm like, if I just work doubly hard, it's going to get easier. In fact, if anything else, you should really reassess what's going on with you and then be tactical about what it is that you can achieve. So, okay, fine, you can't do 10,000 steps. Can you do 7,000 and feel like you're winning? That's still progress. It's still better than sitting on your, you know, on the couch at the end of the day and complaining that you're not doing anything. Like, anything is better than that. And just admitting that and then realizing what you actually have the capacity to do and then sticking to that, we'll see. And then the path will clear, as life always does. Like, the storm will pass.
Yeah.
And then you've hit the 10,000 steps and you know, then there's progress.
And the thing is, the biggest lever that you're going to pull in a transformation journey is your nutrition. And that doesn't really require more time in most cases. Like, let's say it's travel. The reality is you just need to choose something different, right? Rather than choosing the fast food, you just pick maybe something from a healthy bar or whatever it may be, or just put together your own sort of meal. I think that mindset shift can really help, because most people think, oh, it's the training that's going to cause all the gains. And yeah, training will help, right? Steps will have a part to play. Training will help build the physique and will help you avoid muscle mass loss and all these cool things, help build muscle, etc. But nutrition is what's going to give the most bang for your buck on a transformation journey. And that doesn't actually require much more time. Yes, if you meal prep, it will add a bit of time. But in the grand scheme of things, let's say you can't meal prep, you don't have any time for meal prep, but you do know, if we're using London as an example, there's Marks and Spencer's. In the US, it might be Whole Foods or whatever. And you know what you can buy there that will stick to your macros, stick to your nutrition strategy. That will then still give you the results that you're after, right? It's just about making the right choices in these scenarios. So when you said they need to admit it, what does that mean? When does a light bulb go off? Because you're pretty good at this. You'll have people that come on thinking, I can't be 100%, so maybe 0. Yeah. But then they finish speaking to you and they're sounding like, you know, show me the gains.
I think it's just about admitting that it's hard for us coaches as well. Like, you know, a lot of them, people think that, oh, you guys, you have all the time in the world to train. You have all the time in the world to meal prep. But we all have our task lists. We all have our responsibilities. And then being like, I think really relating to them, I think, you know, I'm a mom, I've got 2 kids, you know, it's like life is crazy. But finding that little nuggets of time, like trying to make it really, to show that, you know, it is possible in that sense. Just giving really practical examples. Like somebody on the other day I was speaking to said, I'd hate my meals. I just dislike them.
Yeah.
And it's just that you can't expect to have gourmet meals and also transform. It's just, there has to be some level of acceptance that, yes, that the foods are probably not going to taste amazing because you don't have, you know, all the butter at the beginning.
Yeah.
But it's also you have to allow your taste buds to change. You have to allow your taste buds to adapt.
Yeah.
And you know, it's about the spices, it's about the flavorings, and those kind of things don't add any calories. It's about understanding what you can and can't do. And then they'll be like, oh, I didn't even realize that I could add like garlic, you know, garam masala and garlic powder or whatever it is that makes their food tasty. And they've been eating like, you know, boiled chicken or whatever for the past 15 days. And like, no, please flavor it. Please season it. Make it to your taste.
Yeah, people think, especially all or nothing people, they think if it's not boiled chicken and broccoli, I'm not pushing hard enough. And that's not going to get me the results if it's not boiled chicken or broccoli.
Yeah.
Whereas, like you said, you can add these herbs and spices. But also, at the beginning, it's the hardest because you just haven't learned to cook healthy yet. You probably haven't mastered that skill. When you master that skill, you can make pretty much any food taste really nice. Like, I'm sure you have really great meals and they taste really good and they're all really macro friendly and healthy. And same with me, it's like once you find those things and you're able to do it, everything just becomes easier. But until then, it's going to be hard. It's a new skill, right? You're learning a new skill, so you have to take a step back. Yeah, it might not be as nice. It might take a little bit longer. But once you automate those systems in your life, it becomes, you know, it just becomes a part of what you do. And the first bit is the hardest. Like, you know, it's going to feel overwhelming because you're going from not really prioritizing your health to putting it top 2 to 3 on the priorities list and a major part of your focus. And you're almost going from ground zero.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people start off wanting to live the lifestyle solution. Like, I think a lot of people are like, oh, okay, it needs to fit in with my lifestyle. But the truth is that your lifestyle is not actually, when you join, your lifestyle isn't actually contributing to your health and fitness. There has to be certain changes to be made. Yeah. And you have to accept that you might have to get up half an hour early to go to the gym. You have to probably, learn to cook, using 1-cal sprays and not have additional things. There has to be some level of adjustment that needs to happen in the beginning. And the process phase it's important to embrace those changes. And then later on, once you hit checkpoint, once you've sort of hit that goal, then switching to a lifestyle and figuring out how you can have your cake and eat it too, literally, happens afterwards. But I think sometimes people want to do the reverse, and then they feel like they're failing. But that's a process that you have to go through.
Bang on
That's
time.
why we've called it process phase.
Yeah, you got to nail the process. Cool, bang on time. Next one. Social stigmas on the journey.
Yeah, that's a big one, isn't it?
What have you faced?
I had it loads. Like when I went through checkpoint, everyone was like, "Why are you still on this? Like you're so skinny already. You're so thin already. What? Can you just eat more or live a little?" You know, that's the kind of thing I heard a lot, and especially since as I was hitting checkpoint, it was Christmas. So there was Christmas and New Year, and there was like these parties, and I was still sitting there with my sparkling water, and everyone was like, "What? Like, why? You look fine now. There's no need for you to lose any more weight." And that is, or the fact that you meet people at a dinner and you're not eating anything and you're just sitting there with the green tea, which I did quite a few times, and people sort of raising their eyebrows at you, being like, "Oh, that's extreme. Yeah, that's just like not healthy." And you just got
What'd you do?
I mean, at some point, I just felt like there was no point explaining it to people. Yeah. Like, you just have to own it.
When did you like explain yourself? When did you just like let it go?
In the beginning, I was like, no, I really want to do this, and it's like it makes me feel good, and I feel really like I know it's hard, but this is something that I've always wanted all my life, and it's just a bit harder, and I know that how much better I'm going to feel if I just push through to the end. I tried my best to explain to people, but once they stopped getting it, it's like, you know what, you won't get it because you're not on this journey.
Yeah.
And so you do you and I do me, and we're here to have a good time and talk about other stuff. Let's just leave my fitness out of the equation. It's none of your business. I'm not asking you why you're not exercising or why you're not, you making your choices. Let me make my choices.
Yeah, I'm not asking you why you're gaining weight and ordering 5 beers. Right?
Exactly. Or having like a burger and fries and, and a huge milkshake and then saying that you feel sluggish or, you feel like you don't have energy. I'm not questioning you.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? You go on a fitness journey, you order healthier food on the menu and you're like really cool for it. But if you order like the burger chips with a milkshake and 5 sides, it's like you're the life of the party.
Yeah. Exactly.
Doesn't make any sense, does it?
No, exactly. Have you faced that? Like when...
I think I was quite lucky in that I started really, really young. So I started my fitness journey when I was 17-ish. So this was like 15, 16 years ago. And I used to get loads of comments like, what's Akash doing? Isn't he a bit strange? Like, because I was like 17, 18. It's like, oh, you must be just doing some weird thing, right? So I was always like, oh, what's Akash doing? Oh, he's a bit strange, all that kind of stuff from the relatives. But I just didn't care. I think I was so, I'm like a very obsessive personality. So because I was just all in, and all I was thinking about was this nutrition and body composition, and I was like, oh my god, I can build all this muscle and all this sort of stuff. I just blocked it all out right from the beginning. And I remember when I was 17, we hosted a wedding. We hosted like the pre-wedding events for my aunt who was staying with us from Zambia. She was staying with my dad. My family. My dad's cousin from Zambia, and we were hosting all the build-up events. The Indian weddings, like the whole week, right? So the wedding wasn't at our house, but all the events were. So every day there was carers, there was all the Indian foods and all that sort of stuff, all the events. And at the same time, I'd just gotten addicted to fitness. So I was reading all the bodybuilding magazines. I was trying to build muscle. Here I was trying to go from skinny fat to having like some sort of physique. And it was really strange because at the time we were having renovation in the house. So like half the house couldn't really access properly, but all my weights were there. So every morning I was like banging the weights. I was doing like twice a day training, all this crazy stuff that I did because it was during the summer holidays.
Right.
But all the comments I got was like, oh, what's Akash doing? Is he not going to join in on the fun? Is he not going to eat? Because I was there. I was so extreme that I was, despite all the caterers, like at the kitchen, I had my own cooking station. So I was preparing at the time peanut butter sandwiches. I thought that was like the thing to have. So I was like peanut butter sandwiches. I was frying chicken breasts on the side. I was doing all this stuff. Just like zero self-awareness, nor really, I just didn't care at the time. I just blocked it out. I was just like, I've got my goal. And maybe I was a bit too extreme, but I don't really care, to be honest, at the time. And then what was interesting is all the people that gave me the comments many, many years later, maybe 5, 6, 7 years later, when we started RNT, they actually became early RNT clients, which was really interesting. I was like, oh, that's interesting. You're inquiring now. Don't you remember you said this? And now I joke about it with them, and they kind of like, they're like, oh, I just didn't realize, I didn't realize that I was living an unhealthy lifestyle. I didn't realize what you were doing. I probably wasn't doing it in like the most socially acceptable way, but I was young.
You were young, yeah.
Yeah.
One of my favorite stories that you've told me was when you used to have your tuna sweet corn and you did it in the cinema, and everyone was like annoyed about it, and you were like, I don't care, I'm eating my tuna sweet corn. You can eat your popcorn.
Yeah, I was really extreme with these stuff. So like, yeah, I'd go to like cinemas, and I had no awareness of what I was eating that would how to make other people feel. So I'd literally bring a tuna or salmon, and this is when I was eating all meat or fish, and the whole place would just stink. And I remember one time it was a theater. I think we were watching like Chicky Chicky Bang Bang, that theater show, and I think I opened up a Tupperware of cooked salmon from early in the morning. So I'd open up the salmon, and the people in front of me just turned and just gave me the dirtiest look, and I just like looked at them and just carried on eating. And I look back and I just cringe because like I wouldn't do that now.
No.
But I think this was like maybe mid-20s. I was just so singular minded of like the only thing that matters is bodybuilding. Now this is probably not where many other people are at. Like if like members of ours are probably not going to be doing that.
No, but if that was 100%. Even if our members get to 70% of that 100%. Intensity.
Yeah.
Then
the craziest one. I mean, this is actually quite recent. It's not the craziest one, but this is one more recent that's quite funny. In 2021, one of my best friends was getting married, and I was giving a speech at the wedding. So I was like groomsman on there.
Right.
And ever since I went vegan, 2020, this was 2022. So ever since I've gone vegan, I always found like when you go to weddings, it's just not much food, like vegan especially.
Yeah.
Especially when the catering is like English done. When the catering is English and you go to a vegan wedding, you just get vegetables basically,
True.
right? Just vegetables, maybe pasta if you're lucky.
Yeah. So
I knew this going in, right? And a friend of mine was also coming to this wedding who was also vegan, and he's into bodybuilding. Right. And he texted me before saying, "What are you doing for the food?" I said, "What are you doing?" He said, "Don't worry, I got you, bro." He brings a cooler pack to the wedding, and when the food's going on, they're doing the canapes and stuff. He goes, Akash got I'm looking around. I'm looking for him. I'm waiting for his signal because we both know what's going to happen. And the food comes out, and it's amazing food, right? Don't get me wrong. It was really nice food, but it's just vegetables.
Sure.
And when you're like, you're just going to be starving, right? You just like, you can't just eat vegetables. I don't know if you've ever been to like these. I'll tell that story after. And so we go to the car park, and this is like after the wedding had happened. So the bride and groom were taking their pictures. Right. The bride and groom were taking their pictures outside of the venue. And it's like this really romantic setting, and we didn't know that was happening. So we're like around the corner, and he pulls out like these protein-packed meals like to fill us up. So we're having this, and the next thing you know, the bride comes around the corner. She looks at us, and her jaw just drops, and she's like, "What?" She's like, just like mouths like, "What are you doing?" The groom was like, he was more chill because he's like, he knows what we guys are doing, and like the bride's also a good friend, but I don't think she realized that sort of thing was going to happen.
Yeah.
And then we just carried on doing our thing and walked off. But
love it.
But I think it's just, I think I've just been lucky that I've just not cared.
Yeah.
And that's helped me on this journey. And I think you have to. Like, if you're listening to this and you're getting the hate, you've just got to be singular-minded of like, this is what I want to do. Yeah. I want to implement a healthy lifestyle. This is a short-term thing. This is not going to be me for the rest of my life. A short-term thing of changing my habits, changing my routine, changing my lifestyle, changing my identity. Once I'm locked in, then I'll be doing all these, then I'll go to, whatever it is, and no one will even know it's happening.
Cool. There's more margin of error. I think at the beginning, the more, single-minded you are. I think, and the lesson you can get from this is that there is that the fixedness that you have to have.
Yeah.
You can't be wishy-washy, otherwise it just doesn't work. Otherwise you get wishy-washy results. Yeah,
exactly. If you commit to this process, and for the first two phases, CTP and process, you go all in, you get into the best shape of your life, then you consolidate effectively, avoid any rebounds, and then you build your lifestyle solution. That's the way to do it. If you try and build your lifestyle solution on the way to your checkpoint, you're just going to spin your wheels and get frustrated. And those who can apply that single-mindedness to the process and will literally find any way to make it happen, whether it's travel, whether it's work, whether it's a death in the family, whatever it may be. Like there are going to be things that are good and bad, like they're going to happen, right? This is just life that we're dealing with, right? And if you can just remember that your goals are your goals and you're trying to go on this health and fitness journey, you will make it happen. And these things don't need to derail you. Like they don't need to derail you. And I think when you can come to terms with that and accept that, yes, bad things might happen in your life, and that doesn't mean that you need to fall off track. It doesn't mean you need to stop the journey. That will just help you get to where you want to get to. Otherwise, you'll stop. Then a couple months go by and you'll be like, oh, you know what? I need to work on my health and fitness.
Yeah.
And then you work on it again, something bad will happen. And you just keep repeating that cycle. And the next thing you know, 20 years have gone by.
Yeah, agreed.
And you have to just accept that, yes, it might be a grievance you have to battle through. Yes, it might have to be 16-hour work days you have to battle through. Yes, it might be the kids are getting sick. But you can still control what you put in your mouth.
I know. And sometimes I think as a coach, when people do check in with these kind of responses and we say, yeah, okay, I know this is tough, but you can still X, Y, Z. It's sometimes I feel they think that we're not being sympathetic.
Yeah.
It's not that we don't care. No. It's not that we're not sympathetic. We completely get it. But I think the important thing is if we also get, you say this all the time, like if us coaches, we get mired in their emotions, then we're not able to help them cut through that clutter and see that pathway through. So it's not that we're not sympathetic. It's not that we don't relate even to some of these struggles, but it has to be, as a coach, you need to sort of show that guiding light almost to just cut through that fog and say, just outside of this, it'll be clear, and that's important. That's really important.
That's what you hire us for, is that objective view on what's going on. And because if you're guided by your emotions when you're on this journey and you haven't mastered emotions in the realm of health and fitness, so you might have mastered it in other areas of your life, but if you haven't mastered it with health and fitness, your emotions will guide you to eating or drinking or whatever the vice may be.
Fallback, whatever.
Right? It will be the fallback, the crutch. Mm. So you have to have an objective eye to help you on that journey. And it's balancing. Yeah, we get what's going on. We get where you are. But if you don't take control in these like dark moments, in these difficult situations, you will never get a handle there. Yeah. And that can be a harsh truth to face. But we find that those who respond well to that and accept that responsibility, that you are responsible for your actions, you are in control of what you put in your mouth, how much you put in your mouth. Once you get that and you accept it, it can be the catalyst for the lifelong transformations that we see.
Yeah, I know. And then you have that structure, and when that structure actually helps you power through everything else, right? Because then you're not sort of getting sucked into all the different craziness that happens in life, because that actually just Ed and I were talking about this yesterday, being like, if your children are sick, it's even more important for you to have your meals in place, because you don't have to think about what you're going to eat. You just know you've got your tofu salad ready. You're not thinking, but oh God, what do I eat now? Like, it's just that you don't want that decision you don't have to make that decision at that moment. You want to keep it as simple as possible.
Yeah. I was saying about, there was another story around vegetables being served.
Yeah.
So that was dinner, and I think there was 6 of us, or maybe 4. And I didn't pick the restaurant, nor did I know what was going to be served at the restaurant. It was a tasting menu as well. Oh, wow. So 2 meat eaters and two of us were vegans. And all the meat meals, I mean, they look great, right? So like when they had cauliflower steak, when they had steak on the meat eaters, the equivalent for vegan was cauliflower steak. When they had chicken, it was like the equivalent was like some sort of courgette looking like a chicken. Basically, I basically had 7 versions of vegetables. These guys had 7, a real heavy meal. Came out of the meal and
starving.
I was starving actually. I thought I just had a start. When you just your blood sugar's getting lower because it's 9 p.m. and you haven't really eaten since lunch. Because all I've had is vegetables. Yeah. Came home and just had to annihilate a protein shake. just to add some.
Yeah.
But because I got home late and I was like, I can't eat a meal now because it's too late. You always got to be prepared when you go vegan. Next one. Let's go into kids and fitness. We kind of segue nicely off. When your kids are sick, you need to be even more healthy. Yeah. But let's talk kids and fitness.
Yeah, I mean...
How old are your kids?
I have a 12-year-old and a 9-year-old.
Okay, so you got different context than I have.
Yeah.
So tell us, how does it help?
Oh, it helps loads. I mean, they love knowing that I'm training for this. We're running the half marathon next week, and they're rooting for me, they're cheering for me. They love seeing me train.
Are they going to keep you on pace?
I don't think so. They can't run as fast as me yet. So that's the thing. My 12-year-old, he's like, Amma, you run so fast. We try. He loves racing me in the park. He loves and so my 9-year-old's obsessed with his bike, and I'm always running next to him. So when I go for these little easy runs, sometimes they join me for bits of it. And it's just, and I think kids, if you tell them to do things, most likely they're not going to. At least kids that age group, 10 to 13, just because you tell them to exercise, just because you tell them to eat well, it doesn't really sync with them. But they will do as you do, and they will copy you really well. So when they see me do the push-ups and do the pull-ups at home, they will want to get onto the pull-up bar. They will want to do their push-ups. They will try to perfect their form. Like my 9-year-old will be like, is my bum high enough in the air? Is my plank position right? They want to try to emulate that because they see it in our day-to-day. They see, Bharat, my husband's also, he's into it as well. He's an RNTer.
They got a shredded dad. Probably helps.
It really does. They were there at the photo shoot. They saw him really, portioning his vegetables and cutting his fruit, and seeing us do that inspires them to do the same. And I think there's no bigger message than that. And I think it's really more important now with screens and things just sort of really crowding their space, especially if you have kids, 10 to 13, 15, 16. It's just too much time spent in front of in front of screens. It's like either gaming, or they're on their phones texting their friends, or they're on social media. It's just so sedentary. Even when you see kids in secondary school, I remember when I was, 13, 14, we'd still be playing. These kids just sit around, park benches, sit around playing. There's too much time spent just hanging about, doing nothing.
Yeah. What did you think of that show, Adolescence?
I need to watch that show.
Okay.
I've heard, I haven't watched it yet, but I've heard it's really, really good.
Because you got teens, it might be worth
Exactly.
one teen.
Yeah, almost a teen. Yeah, exactly. No, it's definitely on my watch list. Right now, sleep is my priority, so I'm...
Yeah, fair.
And even that, teenagers tend to, they like to be up late, right? And then here's Bharat and me, heading to bed at 9:30. And, it's just showing that it's important to rest. It's important to take care of your body. It's important to do all these things. And they see that and they imitate that, So I think it's... And they love to get involved. They love to sort of cheer you on. And sport is a big part in my kids' life. They play cricket, they swim, so...
Yeah, kids really do emulate the parents. I haven't got as much experience as you have.
I know Sia joined you on that walk.
Yeah, the other day, she's like, Daddy. So she knows when I go running now.
Right.
And what's really cool about running for me is when I used to go to the gym, obviously I walk to the gym and then I do my workout there. Yeah. Whereas I started running roughly when Sia was born. So I do my warm-ups at home in front of her. And then I say, Daddy's going for a run. And then she watches me start the run from the window. So now she gets that sort of thing. So every time she sees someone running, she says, "Oh, Daddy, running." Daddy,
Right.
So the other day, she's like, I was like, "I'm going for a run." She's like, "Oh, but I see I come running." I say, "No, I'm going running." She's like, "No," she's basically saying she wanted to come with me. So Chani was like, "All right, let's start the walk. We'll walk with you at the beginning." Cute. So next thing you know, we did about, I think the first half mile of my run was basically me shuffling with her. So she was plodding along. And she just wanted to keep running because she knows that, she has no idea what that is, but she, what I've learned just from osmosis is that they pick things up.
They pick
right?
it up, yeah.
And the other day, Chani said, "Damn it." And Sia goes, "Damn it."
They pick up everything.
I was like, shit, they literally pick up everything.
So true.
And there was I do this thing where I tap Chani on the shoulder and I go, "Come on," or something like that. And Sia yesterday taps Chani on the shoulder, "Come on." I was like, and she said, "I thought that tap was you. Not Sia."
Yeah.
So they literally mimic everything. And I can only really comment on it from an exercise perspective because she's like, Sia stretching. Sia, she talks herself in the third person. I don't know if that's a thing that they do.
It's a thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So she's like, Sia stretching, Sia running, Sia exercising. Also, I don't know what the nutrition thing is, but all I know is that the research is very clear, right? Yeah. If one parent is obese, I think there's 50% more chance the child is. If both are, then it's 80%. It goes up to 80%. I think Ivan shared that research quite a bit in our community. Yeah. So the research is very, very clear, and the parents' fitness has a direct correlation on the kids' future health. Because there's just so much compounding research around it, both anecdotally but also in papers.
I remember when I started running way back when my little one was just born, and it was just an escape. But my older son wanted to start coming with me because he was just like, "I'm going to run with you. Can I just come running with you?" Initially, I was like, God, I mean, this is supposed to be me time.
Yeah,
And now I've
yeah.
got this 4-year-old sort of jogging next to me. But actually, it became such a good thing because he loves to run now, and it's become something that we just do. Like sometimes it's like, oh, I'll come with you for a part of your run or something. And it's just so nice because you actually get to talk about stuff. Because when your mind or body's occupied, conversation can kind of flow quite easily as well. So it's such a great way to bond with your
I
kids.
think Charlie, so Charlie on our team, she also said something similar. She said when she goes running with a child, especially because he's more, I think he's a teenager now, right?
Yeah, I think he's a year older than mine. Yeah.
So he's a teenager, and she said that especially with the boys, getting them to open up can be tougher.
So hard.
But when they're running or they're exercising, the
they
juices
loosen up.
start flowing. Yeah, yeah.
Exactly.
So she's able to bond with her son that way. So there must be something to it.
Yeah, 100%.
Go on.
With nutrition as well, like I remember back in the day, we used to have Friday evenings, we do like pizza or we do like ice cream and stuff. And so it became like a thing. Like, oh, it's Friday. What takeout are we? Where are we going to order from? It just became this thing that we always wanted to do. And then once we started, focusing more on nutrition, changing the way we ate, suddenly it's not about Friday evenings pizza anymore. It's about Friday evenings. Sometimes we sit and watch a movie. Sometimes we go for a walk. Like we do stuff together, but it doesn't have to. It's not around food anymore. And that's amazing for me.
Cool. That's the wrap on the third one. We're going to go into being a coach at RNT.
I love it. Yeah, I was talking to my son about it this morning. He was like, not too many people really love what they do.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, that's true. I'm really lucky that I really, really love what I do.
What is it that you love about it?
I guess just seeing the changes that people can make in their lives, like, having that perspective and, that people have that faith in you to guide them through something that's really, really important to them. It's probably something they've struggled to do for a long time, like make health and fitness a priority. And trusting you to take them through that life and figuring it out for them, helping them put together that structure in place, it just feels like you're offering something that is going to last them for a lifetime. I mean, that's probably why you started RNT, right? You wanted to show people what they could achieve.
My mission has always been help people use a physical transformation as a vehicle to do things they don't think possible in other areas of their life. Like that could be anything from their career, their relationships, their own pursuits, their passions, whatever it may be. And I think what the cool thing is you can never really predict what it's going to be. It usually happens in areas you don't expect, the change that you end up having. And I think from a coaching perspective, my goal was always to create a system where coaches don't need to worry about marketing and sales. I think there's so many amazing coaches out there who are either leaving the fitness industry or now hate the fitness industry or just hate their job because they're having to spend 80-90%, if not all their time, just doing marketing and sales. So for coaches at RNT, my goal was to make sure that none of that was taken care of. All of that was taken care of, and they didn't have to worry about any of that. There was no sales. They didn't have to worry about posting on social media. There was no any of that stuff was all taken off. So they could just do what they love. They could just do ultimately what they're really good at. Most coaches aren't good at those other bits, but that's fine. Like in any other profession or in any other career, you just do your thing, right?
Core task, yeah.
So, but in the fitness industry, it's a bit different. There's no clear career path, and there's the very few companies you can actually do that for. So that was really key for me to kind of curate that system where coaches can come in and just focus on their on doing what they're good at and not worry about anything else.
I love in the book when you said, yes, you got people to hit, checkpoint and stuff. And then when you're asking people to talk about their journeys, you heard them actually share things that had nothing to do with weight loss, right? I mean, that was like that's my favorite bit in your book, Transform Your Body, Transform Your Life. It really is why that it's so much more than just a number on the scale or, what your BMI is. And,
it was really interesting. When I was a personal trainer in the city, it was all just about, for me, I was just focused on weight loss, just focused on getting people in shape. I thought that's all they cared about. So you speak them in the hour. I'd also help with them nutrition on as well. But it was just about get results, get them into amazing shape. Then when I did set up RNT in 2017, it was about 18 months in. I started, obviously, just doing things from scratch. So I didn't even have an RNT email. I was just sending it from my Gmail account, all these sorts of things. And it was just all over the place. And I remember about a year in thinking, I should probably send some feedback forms, just see if people like what we're doing. People are getting results, but do they actually like what we're doing? So I sent some feedback forms out. And I think one of the questions was like, how's your journey been? Or how's your experience been? And I was hearing all this feedback of like, they weren't saying anything like, oh yeah, I've lost 20 pounds, lost 30 pounds, got in amazing shape, got a six pack now.
Yeah.
It was all this other stuff they were telling me. I was like, huh, that's interesting. Like, what's going on here? Like, maybe we're not just selling weight loss. Maybe it's something completely different. And this was back in the day where, 2017, 2018, where what we were doing was very unique and very cutting edge. And whilst you might hear people saying, oh, it's just more than just the physical, people just like ripping off the lingo, which happens a lot, by the way. It was more just like, I was just looking at it thinking, this is quite cool. Like something different going on. And I was in Thailand at the time, and I was walking on this beach, and I was reading a book called Mission. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's by Michael Heyman. And he was talking about how like most companies are born out of a mission. And I was like, oh, what's our mission? And then I was reading this feedback forwards at the same time. And I was like, Then I just had this like phrase into my mind of like, the physical is the vehicle. I was like, oh, that's it. That's how I tell the story. Maybe it was a bit more sophisticated than that. But in my head, I always think of that walk on the beach. And I was reading that book, I was reading the feedback forms. And I was like, oh yeah, the physical is the vehicle. That's how it came out.
Turning point, absolutely.
Yeah, I think it was. And then I realized, I tapped into the fact that what we're doing is getting people into amazing shape, but it's all the other stuff they can do with that that's really exciting. And that's why I want people to just go all in at the beginning.
Yeah.
If we just circle it back to like what we started off with, if you just go all in and use that all or nothing mentality of yours, but just stay on the right side of it.
Yeah.
And just accept life's going to be in the way, you would just thank yourself later for all the results you're going to get on the other side.
I think that's the crux of it, though. People think all in means it's 100%. Yeah. All in doesn't mean that we expect you to hit greens and hit 100% adherence every single week on week for like the rest of your process phase. That's not what it is. All in just means stay engaged, commit, follow the guides. Yeah, just follow the process. Like there will be days when it feels really difficult. There will be days when things don't happen, but going all in means you continue to just work on it, and it's always progress over perfection, right? It's not about if you're just doing something better. Like today when I went out for a meal, I chose to go for my salad, and I chose a tofu, and I didn't go for a starter. That's a win. Yeah. And then next week onwards, it'll be like, it'll be even better. It'll get better and better and easier. So you have to put one foot in front of the other. And that's the difference, I think, when people, and that's the joy, I think, when people suddenly realize, oh, like this is what I need to do. I just need to be intentional about every choice I make. And if I am choosing to eat this scoop of ice cream, then that's great. Like that is your intention, own it, and then move on to it. And the next day you just get back on plan.
Yeah. All in on the process, not all or nothing. That's really, really key.
Absolutely.
At the same time, you don't want to create justifications in your head and say you're all in on the process. Yes, you're engaging, but yeah, you go out on your meals and you're going out 3, 4, 5 times a week, and you're giving yourself a win because you had one dessert, not 2. Like you gotta know where to draw the line here as well, because if you compromise your standards, you can say you're being all in on the process, but you're just getting nowhere.
No,
so
true.
You got to be all in on the process and know exactly what that.
And that's your coach comes in.
And that's where the coach comes in.
Yeah, gives you that boundary and be like, there's so many people who say, oh, but I'm on it Monday to Friday, and then I deserve a treat on the weekend. It's like, yes, but, if you really think about it, like a weekend is like 30% of your year. So are you trying to say 30% of the year you can just do what you want?
Yeah. And all that stuff will come. Like in the future, if you just nail down the beginning bit now, and just maybe you have to sacrifice a few weekends. Maybe a few weekends you don't have blowouts, but you've got years and years to enjoy. You've probably heard me say, like, if it takes 12 years to walk in the woods, you can't walk back out in 12 weeks.
Yeah.
So you've had decades of gluttony. If you just spend 12 to 40 weeks, I'm saying that random range because that's anywhere between 10 and 25 kilos maybe. Yeah. If you just spend that period of time just being all in on the process, you then have 20, 30 years after to enjoy this new body. But it's literally just that short period of time with a proper system after that's stopping most people from being where they are now to having the body they want for the rest of their life with good health. That's literally it. Just a short period of time that you just need to go. You just need to say, yes, I'm the number one priority. My health is my goal. I'm going to do whatever it takes. Yeah. Because you can't short circuit. You can't buy it. You can't buy this body, right? You can't buy the health. 100%. You actually have to do it.
For sure. I mean, it's just like it's in that through that process, you actually discover things about yourself that you didn't know before. You realize that actually you're wasting too much time on things that you don't really care about. Like, I love that line, like, pay attention to what you're paying attention to. You know, like, you have to actually really analyze your week and say, am I spending way too much time on social media? Am I spending way too much time with people who don't actually support my goals? Then, you know, you keep talking about how that muck comes up and you have to clear that. And it's that through that process, you actually realize what is really important to you. And then it becomes easier because then your priorities sort of become really clear and you're not ambiguous about what you need to do. You have very clear goals. And as once you hit finish process and you get to a checkpoint and you sort of really learn to construct your lifestyle solution, yes, you can have time for certain things that do take away from that. But I think through that process of understanding what those key nuggets are that you really want to pay attention to, you don't want to waste time on stuff that are not important, on friends who take away from your goals, or, Netflix. It's like a classic. Yes, the shows are great, but, is it really worth getting 4 hours of sleep on?
Yeah.
Are you going to feel bad that you didn't binge watching that episode? Are you going to feel bad that, you just, taking such poor care of your health?
Cool. So on a note, to finish up, go all in on the process, put the blinkers up, apply ruthless consistency, and watch your body, your health, and your life transform.